is quite untypical for me what I
Yes.
did. It was my personal joke. It's actually not coming from the end to the beginning, but from the beginning. When I was at the Art Academy, the methods at Soviet art academies were quite unusual. They couldn't teach you without pressing down and insulting. There was special methods. I know that even some Sufi schools using those methods to make students stronger, but I don't think that Soviet professors were that sophisticated. At the time anyway, social realism was kind of a mixture of Roman and the Dream Reich approach to art. That's what it represents, the realism and the perversity of functionaries.
So
it teaches lots of anatomy. And the anatomy is still could be approached in many different ways. So those paintings suddenly came to me as the memories of my studies and the methods of my teachers that once, like professor could come and just put a streak, they just cross you almost finished painting with red cadmium, which is practically unremovable. Any other country could solve at this stage, and leaves you in a frustration and almost like an inner cry. But you're not allowed. You got to practically do your work again. And when this came to my mind, it like shakes me. And then when I did these figures, in a confrontation of it's a white sound, almost beauty and ugliness as a one. It's like you cannot separate the ugliness and the beauty as memories, what it means in the body. And then I want to cross this with the red to scratch off my mind. And then my hand stops and I put the red line behind and I give them a common wink. So I make practically a peace with myself. Those paintings, it's still representing a transformation where the physicality is dominating over spiritual. But that...
What does it represent to you?
I don't think that anything actually ever represents to me. I have a different methods to work. I'm moved by visions. I see my visions. I constantly study. I study ancient philosophies, religions, esoteric science. It's like a mental, spiritual tuning, like for musicians, a tone, one harmonious sound which got to grow inside of yourself, and then I have harmonious visions that could be what you see almost like visions of angels, but in reality, this is what I see about us. This is our soul. This is what we cannot see it at once when we look at each other, the way we are dressed up and boxed. We're living in a frames, apartment, houses, professions. Every little box of every stage of your development and your life. Till the last box is coffin actually. But the freedom is a matter of discovery. You do have your freedom if you approach yourself in the way that you start also to see yourself not just naked, but even without skin and blood and bones.
Almost like you can see through.
Yes, it's a, what they say, blueprint or the real print of your existence. There's the image of your soul.
Now you work, I understand you use sand, right? Sand from all over the world to create the images and the texture.
This is the most, I think, unusual part about my art. This is the technique I create. There's a simple, actually, secret about me that basically I'm a sculptor. I start to do wood carvings when I was very young. And one of my first teachers, I could say, has been Sergei Konenko, who spent 30 years in the United States, a great sculptor, who at the end of his life came back to Russia and died in Moscow at age 92. So I was lucky to meet this man when he was 89 years old and spent a couple of years with him. But he gives me a feeling, a touch of wood. And I was doing sculpture till about age 19, 20, then I fully moved into the paintings. And then in the paintings I start to miss dimensions. And then about 15 years ago I start to desperately look for the possibilities to discover a complete, fully dimensions. It's almost become like a glyptic, like a relief, all type of reliefs on a hardboard. I work only on the hardboards, and it's also a little bit connected to the technique of Renaissance, Quattrocento, and the icons, where the image first is engraved and then the preparation is very important. Sometimes I get to work weeks on the preparation before I put my image.
The images are almost real. The real and the imaginary at the same time.
Because since I was a student, people just start to notice that I never put shadows. If I would show you some of my early oil paintings, it first comes that I don't have a shadow.
Yes.
So then I realized that I just don't feel anything negative, because my life was full of dramatic negative experience. But in my work is only light, happiness, and
like immortality almost.
yes, yes, untouchable beauty. Yeah, Ewigkeit, the eternity. Am I mortal? Do really everyone will disappear without any trace? And this life, is this life just a nightmare or ununderstood dream? It's one of the four elements of water, because that's what is this earth about, is fire, water, air as a catalysator of all the thoughts, and the earth. And in an esoteric human being, the water representing our emotions, the fire is our creativity, the air is our way to express ourselves. That's what words coming out. This is communication, catalysator of all things. And the earth representing our physical part of life, work, occupation, duty. So I have four elements, and this one is now complete, where people were still androids, and the man and woman were in one. It's just a complete harmony. That's why water for me is not a blue.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gentle white.
Is there like a...
Once again, the seashells, the little stones.
It's like creation.
Yeah, and the sand. I started to include sand in the paintings because I discovered that a nature speaks its own language. As art cannot be put in words. I try my best to do what I can do to talk, but in reality, it's not possible to put what is in water. I started to collect the sand from all around the world, from Arizona, from Red Center in Australia, from Sahara, from rivers and oceans all around the world where I go.
Does it have any resemblance to you? Of course.
I don't know, because actually my son once tells me, Mama, he got you fake.
It looks like you are still doing sculptures, except on a surface. So you never got away from it.
That's maybe destiny.
I heard that you work sometimes several days without sleep.
Without food, actually.
Without food, yes.
When I lose sleep, it's dangerous because then I accumulate too much light, because sometimes I close my eyes and I see radiant, burning light. I try to keep my eyes open not to see this light. When I feel ununderstood inside of myself, I just call one image of someone I love and I talk. I have beautiful conversations with Rembrandt sometimes. I spend lots of evenings with Leonardo da Vinci.
You must be proud of you.
I had beautiful stations with Buddha and Muhammad and Abraham. Everything is possible when you believe. Normally, when I work, I don't touch any food. I don't smoke and no alcohol, and I just got to drink some water. I got to drink lots of water. I don't know why I'm doing that, but that's the way I get to be completely
spiritual almost.
I don't know, clean up, open. That when I can work on my body, but being out of my body. Normally I work always with the models, not that I get to always remember anatomy, but it's got to be in front of me to feel the light vibration. My favorite color is actually white. Once in Canada, I had exhibition of self-portraits, and it was incredible success. The replies were unbelievable. And they asked me, why you paint so much yourself? And then at the time I was only 24, and I said, it's not actually myself. I imagine being myself as a microcosm. And if I could study my own self just like a one single cell of my body, coming through without any personal touch, in the most observing, analytical way, to pass my own ego and myself, it could bring me closer to the macrocosm, the whole universe.
So you're saying you are like a part of the microcosm. You are part of the cosmos, the universe.
Not anything else than just equal being to everyone. Only the difference is my very old soul. But the more I study myself through self-portraits, the more that a deeper I could come into all other humans. I think every single artist should make a self-portrait. White is endless subtlety.
Exactly.
You have everything in white. I love white.
That's right.
It's very meditating. I could stare at the white hours and hours long and see whatever I want to see, endlessly. If you could see it, my paintings are lifting up. They're coming up.
Yes, I wanted to say it. You look in.
They're not on the ground.
Right. They almost suspended.
Yes.
Suspended in the air.
Elevated.
Elevated.
Always.
Correct.
And always moving
Upward.
upward. Because my exhibition was in a very religious place, what could be more religious than a private gallery of Vatican, and the director of the gallery was a Padre Cipione, a Franciscan monk, and somebody just wanted to make a joke and pull his legs and said, "Oh, Padre Cipione, how could you tolerate that all your, the whole exhibition are nudes?" And Padre Cipione, a beautiful being, actually, this brown kapuzen, moved the hands like this and said, "It's como Capella Sixtina." It's like a 16th chapel, what's new about it? My paintings are just like icons of the future. For me, spiritual sense got no meaning of religion. I hope all religions looking for spirituality. But common sense are not believers with the rules, but the sense of God, absolute. That's what we are trying to reach and to be in touch with. The spirituality basically is the motor, the essence of our existence. Even when I was young, I was thinking, how come people think that what I am is that what I am? We are composed of 93% of water, for 75 kilos of human body. There are 3.5 kilos of minerals and 1.5 kilos of salts. When the person died and cremated, what comes out? Ashes and burned salt. And that's what you can just hold in your hand and look at it and say, that what all was about, that what all desires, think, create, suffer, love, hate, is all those ashes. Where was I? And then you feel that you're someone else. And that what came to me, that I'm more than anything, a soul, invisible entity, which lives inside. I've got to make a best out of body. And creativity for me is an ultimate gift of God. I think the best has been created here, it's the body, the temple of the soul. But the best you could call to help you for understanding and creativity, that's your soul. I think each time what you are, you're someone in between the past and the future. And what I've been told by clairvoyants, that I came from the future, which is by the theory of the golden cat, is it possible. Spiritually, it is possible that I came from the future. And I'm gladly working hard to take out of my system those images.
So you would be correct if I say that you believe in reincarnation?
Yes.
Yes. So our lives will come back again and again.
It's not lives, it's units of energy. There is a center somewhere where you come from, and at the end you're uniting into. That's why the purification of your personal karma, your personal energy, is almost obligation, is our duty. That's what the ancient Greeks call eidos, the sense of duty. So I perceived this sense of duty in my very early age, and I promised myself when I was 8 to serve the people, because it just was an accident. I fell under the ice on a very large river. I could hardly come out. When I managed to actually save myself out of images of how to put apples on ice and very funny things. I've seen posters somewhere like that. And I came out and I started my first diary. I was 8 years old, and I asked myself, what is the purpose of life? And I answered, to serve the people, to be useful to people.
Are you on a mission?
I don't know, but I was a child, I was 8 years old. It came to me like that.
How would you like people to remember you? Although you know you are immortal, but how would you want them to think of you?
Just my...
Of yourself. How would you like people, what you want them to think of you? How would you like them to describe you? Others.
When I was a child, I always imagined I have big blue eyes. I want always to have transparent eyes, deep as the sky. But of course, people would not remember me for my big blue eyes.
But they do remember you for your work.
I think they will remember me for a very good intention. I basically love people the way I can love them. Sometimes I think I feel sorry more than I love. Because love on this earth is very cruel, very possessive. Happiness is always what's happening now. It's the moment of personal satisfaction. And for that people do crimes, could kill and could abandon their immortal soul. My happiness is unachievable harmony, a balance. If I could share it, this sense of absolute beauty, I mean the way that it's very fragile.